In the vast, frozen wilderness of the Pleistocene era, a silhouette moves against the enormous pale moon. It is the gray wolf, an apex predator, a creature of instinct and raw power, the undisputed ancestor of the animal currently sleeping peacefully at the foot of your bed. When we look at a Chihuahua or a golden retriever, it is almost impossible to see the ferocious wolf within them. Yet, strictly speaking, they are the same species. They share 99.9% of their DNA, a genetic bond that defies the massive physical differences we see today. This story is not just about biology. It is about the most successful partnership in the history of life on Earth. It is a tale of how a feared rival became a best friend, bridging a genetic gap that changed both of our species forever. To understand this gap, we must travel back at least 15,000 years, perhaps even 30,000. The world was a colder, harsher place. Humans were nomadic hunter. Gatherers and wolves were a direct competition for food, territory, and survival in the Ice Age. The traditional theory suggests that humans stole wolf pups and raised them, but modern science proposes a more fascinating idea: self-domestication. The boldest, least aggressive wolves began following human camps to scavenge for leftover food scraps. This was the first genetic filter. The wolves with higher stress thresholds and lower flight distance survived better near humans. They didn't need to hunt, they needed to tolerate our presence. This behavioral shift was the spark that ignited the genetic divergence. Over thousands of generations, this selection for friendliness began to change their physical appearance. In a famous experiment with silver foxes in Russia, scientists replicated this process. By selecting only for docility, the foxes' ears became floppy and their tails curled. This is known as domestication syndrome. As adrenaline levels dropped in these tame animals, the neural crest cell stem cells responsible for adrenal glands also affected other traits like jaw size, teeth, and ear cartilage strength. While the wolf remained a master of the wild, possessing a bite force of 1,200 psi to crush bone, the dog's jaw evolved to be weaker. They no longer needed to take down bison, they only needed to chew what humans gave them. Digestion provides another major clue in this genetic gap. In 2013, geneticists discovered that dogs have many more copies of the AME2B gene than wolves. This gene produces amylase, the enzyme required to digest starch. This adaptation was crucial. As humans settled down and began farming, our waste became rich in starches like wheat and rice. Wolves, being strict carnivores, could not survive on this diet. Dogs, however, evolved to thrive on our leftovers. The brain of the dog also underwent a significant restructuring. Relative to body size, a wolf's brain is about 30% larger than a dog's. The wolf needs that extra processing power for complex problem solving in the wild without assistance. However, a smaller brain does not mean less intelligence. It means specialized intelligence. Dogs have developed a specific social genius that wolves completely lack: the ability to understand and communicate with human beings. Consider the pointing test. If you hide food under a cup and point to it, a human infant understands. A chimpanzee does not. A wolf, even one raised by humans, usually ignores the gesture, but a dog understands the point instinctively. This ability to read human gestures is written into their DNA. Puppies as young as 6 weeks old, who have had almost no contact with people, already look to human faces for guidance. It is a biological predisposition, not a learned trick. Wolves solve problems independently. If a wolf is confronted with a locked box containing meat, it will try to smash it, chew it, or open it until it succeeds or gives up. It never looks for help. Put a dog in the same situation, and after a few seconds of failure, it will stop and look directly into the eyes of its human owner. This social referencing is the dog's way of asking, "Can you help me with this?" This eye contact is chemically potent. When a dog and a human stare into each other's eyes, both species release oxytocin, the love hormone associated with maternal bonding. This feedback loop does not exist between humans and wolves. In fact, for a wolf, direct eye contact is a threat. In the wild hierarchy, staring is a challenge to authority. A wolf that maintains eye contact is preparing to fight, whereas a dog maintains eye contact to bond. The genetic gap also manifests in their development speed. Wolf pups develop much faster than dog puppies. They are exploring outside the den at 2 weeks old, driven by the urgent need to learn survival skills before winter. Dog puppies, by contrast, remain in a state of neoteny or retained youth. They stay dependent on their mothers and subsequently their human owners for much longer. They are, in a biological sense, eternal puppies. This retention of juvenile traits extends to their physical forms. The short snouts, large eyes, and playful behavior of adult dogs are all characteristics of wolf puppies. We unconsciously selected for animals that triggered our nurturing instincts. Let's talk about the coat. Wolves generally have coats in earthy tones: gray, white, black, or brown for camouflage. Dogs, however, come in a dazzling array of colors and patterns that would be fatal in the wild. A spotted white dog in a dark forest is an easy target for predators and easy for prey to spot. But under human protection, camouflage became irrelevant. We began to value novelty and beauty over survival utility. The tail is another distinct marker. Wolves almost always carry their tails low or straight. A curled tail, or a tail that wags high over the back, is a uniquely canine trait linked to the relaxation of muscle tension in the spine. Then there is the bark. Wolves rarely bark. They howl to communicate over long distances or to rally the pack. Barking is a juvenile wolf sound. Adult dogs bark constantly because they are stuck in that juvenile mental state. We must also address the reproductive cycle. Wolves breed only once a year, timed perfectly so pups are born in spring. Dogs, having lost the pressure of seasonal survival, can breed twice a year at almost any time. Despite these differences, the ability to interbreed remains. A wolf and a dog can produce fertile offspring, the wolf-dog hybrid. These animals often find themselves in a tragic middle ground, possessing the predatory drive of a wolf, but the lack of fear of a dog. Owning a hybrid is a stark reminder of the genetic gap. They are often destructive, cannot be house-trained, and do not seek human approval. It highlights just how much wildness we have successfully bred out of the domestic dog. Recently, scientists have found that dogs with Williams-Beuren syndrome markers in their genome are hypersocial. In humans, this genetic condition leads to indiscriminate friendliness. Dogs effectively have a genetic mutation that makes them love everyone. This is the key to their success. While the wolf dominates the food chain through strength and suspicion, the dog has conquered the world through love and cooperation. There are 900 million dogs on Earth, compared to only 300,000 wolves. The diet of a wolf is protein, heavy and intermittent. They can go days without eating and then consume 20 pounds of meat in one sitting. Dogs have adapted to a feast or famine lifestyle less than a regular schedule more. Even their paws have changed. Wolf paws are massive, designed to act as snowshoes, with webbing between the toes. Most dog paws are tighter and smaller, evolved for harder ground and less extreme terrains. Hearing is another divergence. While dogs have excellent hearing, a wolf can hear a sound as far as 6 miles away in the forest and 10 miles on the open tundra. Their survival depends on it. Concept of territory differs too. Wolves defend vast territories ranging from 50 to 1,000 square miles. Dogs defend a backyard. Their spatial awareness has shrunk to match the human environment. Yet, sometimes the ancient instincts resurface. When your dog circles 3 times before lying down, it is a ghost of the past and instinct to trample down tall grass and check for snakes, just as their wolf ancestors did. Or consider the squeaky toy. Why do dogs love them? The high-pitched squeak mimics the sound of a dying small animal. It triggers the dormant predatory motor sequence that lies deep within their brainstem. However, the sequence is broken. A wolf sequences orient, eye stalk, chase, grab, bite, kill, bite, dissect. In dogs, we have selectively amplified some steps and deleted others. Herding dogs chase but don't bite, retrievers grab but don't kill. This fragmentation of the predatory drive is what makes dogs safe. A wolf will never stop at the chase phase if it is hungry. A dog can be satisfied with just the chase, playing fetch for hours without ever needing to eat the ball. Let's look at the husky. They look like wolves, but genetically they are fully dog. Their howl is a relic, but their ability to digest starch and their social bond with humans place them firmly on the domestic side of the gap. Conversely, the pug or French bulldog represents the furthest extreme from the wolf. Humans have altered their anatomy so drastically that they can often no longer reproduce or give birth without surgical interventions. This extreme breeding raises ethical questions. While the wolf is shaped by the cruel but efficient hand of natural selection, the dog is shaped by the whimsical and sometimes detrimental hand of artificial selection. Despite the differences, the pack mentality remains. Wolves live in family units, a breeding pair and their offspring. Dogs view their human family as their pack. You are not their master, you are their parent. This is why separation anxiety is so common in dogs. A lone wolf is a dead wolf. Being left alone in an apartment triggers a primal panic response, a fear of abandonment that is hardwired into their social nature. The wolf's fast life is brutal and short, rarely exceeding 6 to 8 years in the wild. Dogs sheltered from starvation and disease can live 15 years or more. We have traded their freedom for their longevity and comfort. We often project human emotions onto dogs, but we must also respect their dogness. They communicate through scent, a world we are blind to. A wolf can smell a drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. A dog's nose is still its primary interface with reality. When you walk your dog, they are reading the news left by other dogs. To pull them away is like closing a book before they finish the page. The genetic gap is also a gap in independence. Wolves are problem solvers. Dogs are problem sharers. Wolves change the environment to suit them. Dogs change themselves to suit the environment. Today, as we strive to reintroduce wolves to places like Yellowstone, we are reminded of the ecological power of the wolf. They change the course of rivers by controlling deer populations. Dogs change the course of human lives. Service dogs, therapy dogs, detection dogs. These are the ultimate expression of the dog's potential. They have taken that ancestral cooperative drive and refined it into complex professions that benefit human society. But we must never forget the wolf inside. When a dog shakes a toy, when it chases a squirrel, when it digs a hole, it is the echo of the Pleistocene, a whisper from the wild ancestor that refuses to be silenced. The story of the wolf and the dog is the story of nature versus nurture. It is a testament to the plasticity of life, showing how a single species can diverge into two distinct paths, one of wild freedom and one of loyal companionship. We did not just tame the wolf, we invited it into our souls, and in doing so, the wolf changed us too. It taught us empathy, responsibility, and the unconditional love that only a dog can give. So, the next time you look at your dog, look past the floppy ears and the wagging tail, look deep into their eyes, and you might just catch a glimpse of the ancient wild spirit that once roamed the Ice Age. The genetic gap is small, a mere fraction of a percent. But within that fraction lies the difference between a creature that sleeps in the snow and one that sleeps in your heart. From the fierce guardian of the wild to the gentle guardian of the home, the journey from wolf to dog is the greatest biological experiment humans have ever conducted. And the results are sitting right beside you. As we look to the future, the bond will likely only deepen. As technology isolates us, the primal connection with our dogs grounds us in the natural world. They are our last bridge to the wild. The wolf remains a symbol of what was untouched and untamed. The dog is a symbol of what can be. When two species choose to walk the path of survival together, it is a partnership forged in fire and ice, tested by time and sealed by genetics. The wolf and the dog, two sides of the same coin, spinning through history. In the end, perhaps we didn't domesticate them. Perhaps, in the cold dark of the prehistoric night, they chose us just as much as we chose them. While the divergence started with behavior, it was cemented by isolation. As humans moved across continents, they took their proto-dogs with them, physically separating them from the wild wolf populations, preventing reverse gene flow. This isolation allowed for rapid mutation. Without the constant genetic reset of breeding with wild wolves, recessive traits like spotted coats or blue eyes could surface and become permanent features of the dog population. Scientific studies on the flight initiation distance show that a wolf will flee when a human is 200 meters away. A feral dog might wait until 50 meters. A pet dog will run towards you. The human. This is the metric of domestication. The skull of the dog has actually paedomorphosed, meaning it resembles the juvenile stage of the wolf. The snout is shorter, the jaw wider, and the teeth more crowded, a common issue in modern veterinary medicine. Hormonally, the differences are just as stark. During stress, a wolf's cortisol spikes and stays high for rapid reaction. A dog's cortisol spikes but returns to baseline much faster, allowing them to recover from stress in a human home. Let's consider the concept of resource guarding. Wolves must guard food to survive. Dogs still show this, but through training, we have taught them to trade. This willingness to negotiate is a cognitive leap away from the wild. Vocalization is another fascinating gap. Wolves have a complex vocabulary of howls, yips, and growls. Dogs have simplified this into the universal bark. But they have added a new sound, the whine specifically pitched to manipulate human emotions. Research suggests that dogs have evolved new muscles around their eyes, specifically the levator anguli oculi medialis. This allows them to raise their inner eyebrows, creating the sad puppy look that wolves physically cannot make. This eyebrow movement triggers a nurturing response in humans similar to looking at a baby. It is an evolutionary hack. Dogs that could make this face were fed more and cared for better. Even their sleep patterns differ. Wolves are light sleepers, alert to every rustle of leaves. Dogs, feeling safe in our homes, enter deep REM sleep, dreaming and twitching, a luxury afforded by their alliance with us. The alpha wolf theory, popular in dog training for decades, has been largely debunked. Wolves operate more like a nuclear family than a military hierarchy. Dominance theory in dogs is often a misunderstanding of this family dynamic. Understanding this changes how we train. We don't need to dominate our dogs, we need to lead them like parents. Positive reinforcement works because it mimics the cooperative learning of the pack family. The genetic gap is also visible in play. Wolves play to practice hunting and fighting. Dogs play for the sake of play itself, often maintaining play bows to signal that their aggression is pretend. A wolf's paw pads are tough and calloused for rough terrain. A modern dog's pads are often softer, sensitive to hot pavement or salted icy roads, requiring human intervention for protection. In the Arctic, the line blurs. Sled dogs like Malamutes are genetically closer to the wolf than a poodle, retaining the work ethic and metabolic efficiency of their ancestors. Yet they possess the dog's affinity for humans. But even a Malamute cannot be treated like a wolf. A wolf in captivity is a wild animal in a cage. A Malamute in a home is a family member. The psychological needs are fundamentally different. The uncanny valley of the wolf-dog hybrid exists because they are neither fully wild nor fully domestic. They often suffer from confused instincts, wanting to be close to humans but terrified of them at the same time. Genetic sequencing has revealed that the divergence wasn't a single event. There was likely crossbreeding between early dogs and wolves for millennia before the populations became distinct. The line was blurry for a long time. Today, the gap is widening. As we breed dogs for specific looks, flat faces, short legs, excessive skin, we are moving them further away from the functional survival-based design of the wolf. This form-over-function breeding has caused health crises. Wolves do not suffer from hip dysplasia or breathing problems at the rates purebred dogs do. Nature is a strict architect. Humans are often reckless ones. However, the genetic diversity of the dog species is a miracle in itself. From the Great Dane to the Chihuahua, the dog genome is the most physically variable of any mammal on Earth. Yet, strip away the size and shape, and the software is the same. A Chihuahua will try to protect its owner with the same ferocity as a Rottweiler. The wolf's courage is preserved, just packaged differently. The metabolism of a wolf is geared for endurance. They can trot at 5 miles per hour all day. Most dogs have lost this extreme stamina, adapted instead for short bursts of activity followed by long naps. Interestingly, dogs have developed the ability to digest carbohydrates, but they still prefer meat. Their taste buds are tuned for amino acids, a lingering reminder of their carnivorous past. The prey drive varies wildly in dogs and terriers. It is honed to kill small pests. In collies, it is modified to stalk but not bite. In wolves, the drive is a complete, unedited sequence essential for life. We have also altered their circadian rhythms. Wolves are crepuscular active at dawn and dusk. Dogs have adjusted their clocks to match human activity, waking when we wake and sleeping when we sleep. The concept of play in adult wolves is rare and serves social bonding. In adult dogs, play is a daily necessity. We have bred them to be eternal children, ready to frolic at a moment's notice. Grooming is another difference. Wolves groom each other to reinforce bonds and reduce parasites. Dogs rely on humans for grooming. They have outsourced their hygiene to us. The fear response in wolves is generalized. They are cautious of everything new. Dogs have a socialization window where they accept new things. After that window closes, they can become fearful, but the window is much wider than a wolf's. This flexibility allows dogs to live in New York City apartments, travel on airplanes, and work in war zones. A wolf would die of stress in these environments. The dog's superpower is adaptability. Yet, the wolf is the reservoir of genetic health. Breeders are now looking back to the wild, or at least to ancient breeds, to try and fix the health problems we have created in modern dogs. The village dog or pariah dog, the stray dogs seen in India or Africa, often resemble the ancestral link. They look neither like wolves nor purebreds, but something in between, the average dog. These village dogs are the survivors. They are not artificially selected by humans for looks, but naturally selected by the environment for survival, much like the early proto-dogs. The genetic gap is a testament to the power of partnership. Humans provided food and safety. Wolves provided protection and companionship. It was a trade deal that benefited both parties immensely. Without dogs, human civilization might have looked different. They guarded our first settlements, hauled our sleds, and helped us hunt. We climbed the ladder of civilization with a dog by our side. And without humans, the wolf might have remained just one of many predators. Instead, through the dog, the wolf's lineage has spread to every corner of the globe, from the Arctic to the desert. The story is not over. The dog is still evolving. As our lives change, they change with us. They are learning to watch TV, to understand buttons, to navigate our increasingly digital world. But no matter how much they change, the core remains. Scratch a dog behind the ears, and you are touching a descendant of the Ice Age. Throw a ball, and you are engaging a hunter. The genetic gap is a mirror. When we look at the difference between wolf and dog, we are really seeing the impact of humanity on nature. We are the architects of the gap. It is a responsibility. We created the dog. We sculpted them from the clay of the wolf. We owe them a life that respects both their wild origins and their domestic present. As we decode more of the genome, we find that the difference is often in the regulatory genes, the switches that turn traits on and off rather than the genes themselves. This means the wolf is still there, hiding in the code. It is not deleted. It is merely silenced. Under the right or wrong conditions, the ancient traits can reemerge. This latent wildness is what makes them fascinating. We don't want a robot. We want a living being with its own mind, a mind that chooses to love us despite its predatory heritage. The comparison also highlights our own nature. Just as we domesticated the wolf, we domesticated ourselves. We became less aggressive, more cooperative, and more social parallel evolution. The survival of the friendliest hypothesis applies to both species. The friendly wolves became dogs. The friendly humans built civilization. Aggression was a liability. Cooperation was the future. In the final analysis, the gap is defined by trust. The wolf trusts only its pack. The dog extends that circle of trust to include another species entirely. That is a biological miracle. We spend billions on pet food, toys, and veterinary care. In return, they give us something money cannot buy, a connection to the rhythm of nature that we have largely lost. They are the bridge between the silicone world of humans and the carbon world of animals. They translate the wilderness for us into a language of tail wags and licks. The genetic gap is not a chasm, it is a bridge. A bridge built over 30,000 years of shared fires, shared food, and shared survival. So when you hear a siren and your dog howls, do not hush them. Listen. It is the song of their ancestors, the call of the wild wolf echoing through time, reminding you of where they came from. And when they curl up next to you, sighing deeply, know that they have chosen you over the wild. They have crossed the genetic gap to be by your side. The wolf is the king of the wild. The dog is the heart of the home. Both are majestic. Both are necessary. Both are part of the same incredible story of life on Earth. Understanding this gap helps us be better owners. We can respect their needs, forgive their instincts, and cherish their unique position in the animal kingdom. We are the guardians of this gap. It is up to us to ensure that as we continue to breed and shape them, we do not lose the essential spirit that makes a dog a dog. The story of the wolf and the dog is far from over. As we enter the age of genetic engineering, who knows what the next chapter will hold? But one thing is certain, as long as humans exist, the dog will be there. The bond is too deep, the history too long, and the love too strong to ever be broken. From the ice escapes of the Pleistocene to the living rooms of the 21st century, the journey continues. Two species, one destiny. The wolf watches from the shadows of the forest. The dog watches from the warmth of the hearth. Between them lies the genetic gap, a masterpiece of evolution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time and DNA. The next time you see a dog, remember the wolf within and appreciate the miracle that is your best friend. This has been the story of the wolf and the dog, a story of divergence, survival, and ultimately, unity.